So let's go back to an episode we had a few weeks ago about Aristotle and rhetoric. I'm Sam Walters. Welcome to episode 33, Their Reasons, Not Yours. Remember in Aristotle's rhetoric, he talked about there's three phases of the process of engaging someone and then persuading them into a decision-making process. There was the ethos, there was the logos, there was the pathos. And we talked about how it's used by attorneys and taught in law schools as they address a jury, for example, in an opening or closing argument. So essentially, we're doing the same thing with a subject or getting a cooperative victim or witness. So the ethos was that connection process, and we've talked about that before of getting a little bit of rapport, getting a little bit of background, that people will only connect or talk to people who respect them, or they find some connection with. Now, you're not going to send holiday cards or anything like that. But the second two pieces I want to address a little bit more in detail. The logos, the conversation from you as the interviewer must make sense, and then particularly the pathos. Now, in some techniques of the interview and interrogation, the interviewer begins to recite these different stories or themes or dialogues about what they think the subject could have done, because they think they've got everything in their head and they know what happened. You did this or you did this. Problem there is that you contaminate the subject with information. Okay, then that contamination diminishes significantly the reliability of the statement of the person because you said it before they did. Now, the key that I want to look at this episode is the pathos. Now, we've said before, way back in another episode, go back and look for it, is that subjects at the time they committed the act, whatever it was, believed they had every right to do it, that the law was suspended at that moment for them, and this act that they committed didn't really count. Well, why are you getting them to try to follow your explanation and your reasoning for what they did? People move to their own decisions for themselves. They don't do it for you. So it's their reasons, not yours. So start listening to the subject, let them articulate what's going on, and don't try to start implant or create these massive stories or storylines about what you think happened. All right, be sure to hit subscribe and be back next week with episode 34. And remember, what happens in the room echoes in the courtroom. Be safe. See you next week.